We're so glad to have you here. Rachel, that's my sister Rachel, wave. She's in the background. I'm Lynn. We are the Esti Sisters. And today's class is going to be the introduction to cold plasma and DrPlaton. And we will touch upon the Tanisher device for those of you who do have that or have learned about the Tanisher cold plasma device in terms of what makes it different or how to use it instead if we are incorporating it into treatments for our clients. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick us off initially with a presentation, and I'm going to get to a portion we're going to be doing a live demo. Okay, here we go. So again, today's presentation is going to be on DrPlaton, in particular, cold atmospheric plasma. So we're going to cover today what is plasma, cold versus hot plasma, cold plasma versus high frequency. We get this question asked a lot. There have been people saying, hey, it seems to have a similar feel, similar look, so we're thinking it's the same thing, when it's actually not. So we want to make sure you guys understand the difference between the two modalities. We also have, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between DrPlaton, then also the Tanisher cold plasma device, uses in skincare. We're going to cover just a small amount of medical research in using cold plasma. We're going to show you some before and after pics with some of our clients. And then we're going to switch to a demo mode where I'm going to show you guys how to set up your device. And we're going to do a full demonstration. My daughter is going to be our model tonight. And then we're going to talk about pricing and marketing of the cold plasma treatments, in particular with the DrPlaton. Okay, so what is cold plasma? Plasma is actually called the fourth state of matter. So for those of you going back to science class, maybe early years, we have solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, so solid moves to a liquid. Just think of an ice cube. Solid moves to a liquid. Liquid, if high enough, heated enough, can turn to a gas. And when you have actual energy or current that is added to gas and shot through gas, it can actually create plasma. Okay, so that's considered a fourth state of matter. Now, typical examples of gases that are used in terms of cold plasma, which would be argon, helium, ozone, and then atmospheric plasma, which is going to be using the air, which is broken up into about 70% nitrogen and then 30% oxygen. And that's what the DrPlaton is using. And then plasma is also used in things like neon signs, television, fluorescent lighting. And then you'll also see it just in nature in like the aurora borealis lighting. So that would be like the northern lights, stars, etc. And it's also now used in the skincare industry. And again, we're going to go through the one that you guys are going to be most familiar with initially is hot plasma, as the cold plasma has been something new that's probably come into the United States within the last year. And then DrPlaton's been around in the United States at least since late April. However, it has been abroad for well over a year. So it's got some good uses and some good ground that, in terms of experiences that people have had over time. So DrPlaton, again, uses atmospheric nitrogen and oxygen in case you're interested in comparing apples and apples with other devices and finding out that other products or devices use different gases. So cold atmospheric plasma, and nicknamed CAP. So you may see this in literature if you Google CAP, C-A-P, that stands for cold atmospheric plasma. They're actually considered cold because they're harmless to touch at room temperature, as opposed to hot plasma that actually triggers injury in the skin. And that is why it's referred to as hot plasma, because of the thermal action in it. So cold plasma works for rejuvenating and resurfacing the skin. It uses a non-laser type of effect on the skin. To again, we're going to cover a lot of specific uses, but overall, minimizing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, working on acne scar, rosacea, stretch marks, and facial volume loss as well. The CAP, or cold atmospheric plasma, can easily pass through pores and enter into deeper layers of the skin, catalyzing a regeneration of fibroblasts down in the dermis layer to stimulate collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid production. We're going to also talk a little bit about how that happens. I'm not trying to get too scientific, but again, when we're comparing things like high frequency or hot plasma, it's important to know where the effect is on the skin to know how it differentiates between the different modalities. Plasma can also be used to treat skin discolorations like age spots, also certain precancerous marks like actinic keratoses. There's very low heat transfer and electrical current that's passed into the skin. So that's something very unique, because a lot of our electrical devices, we have a lot of contraindications, like people with pacemakers, defibrillators, high blood pressure, things like that. And cold atmospheric plasma is different because it's not really generating that electrical current passing past the top upper layers of the skin. So you don't have those same contraindications that you would with, say, a high frequency, a microcurrent device, etc. So no known contraindications. However, we still are recommending that people get the doctor's approval if you're working with somebody that's pregnant, for example. And I still happen to have people sign my typical electrical device waiver, whether they're using it, whether I'm doing LED, microcurrent, cold laser, the Rosacea device. So any kind of device that I'm basically using, when I have the client sign the initial intake form for skincare, I am also having them sign an electrical device waiver if I'm going to be doing anything with them. And most of the time with my clients, when they come in for the initial consultations, at some point during a treatment or a facial, not necessarily the initial facial that I'm doing on them, the signature facial, but I pretty much always have that waiver on file, because at some point I'd like to use some kind of modality, and I just want to make sure that that's already filled out. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about hot plasma versus cold plasma, because this is the one that's been most known in the United States, and it was called fibroblast plasma. So a lot of you would know it as that. And sometimes you'll hear new companies trying to get into the market that are talking about warm plasma, meaning that it has less ablative nature, less burning, less issues with the skin, as fibroblast plasma, less than fibroblast. However, it is still not cold plasma and still does trigger injury to the skin. So that's why it's really important to know that if somebody is saying warm plasma, it still has a thermal effect. It still has some kind of a negative or a traumatizing effect to the skin. So it would be contraindicated for somebody with rosacea, with melasma, with diabetes, for example. So that's why it's important to know. So you may hear hot plasma, you may hear fibroblast plasma, you may hear warm plasma. These are using higher frequencies or voltages. And when we're going to talk in a second about the different types of heads, this will also help you understand what type of fibroblast plasma, or not fibroblast, what type of plasma that it could be working with. For example, if you have a needle head, that's the type of head that is needed for hot plasma. It's super concentrated. And when the voltage and the frequency the current is coming through that head, it is going to be a hot form of plasma. And that's the one that's held above the skin and creates the trauma in the skin. So we're using, when we look at DrPlaton, a flat ceramic head that automatically diffuses a lot of the current. So it's cold, meaning more at body temperature. So it's not hot to the touch, and it's not going to cause any trauma to the skin. So hot plasma, and how it actually is working on the skin, is that it's heating the water content within the skin, again, causing a thermal contraction, a little bit similar to lasers. Okay. And so it's contracting the collagen fibers, causing a tightening. And you also see that as the visible burn parts in the skin, where it's then triggering new collagen to be stimulated. However, there's a lot of downtime, a lot of contraindications, right, with that. And a lot of us in many states cannot even do that type of work. We can't work with fibroblasts or hot plasma. So unless you're working either in a med spa or with a medical director, for example. You also do need, I'm going to mention down at the bottom here, that for those of you who are going to be working with, or had been working with, or are thinking of working with a hot plasma or fibroblast plasma, oftentimes, even if it is within the scope of practice for you in your state, it requires extra insurance. So keep that in mind. So there's about 2 weeks of downtime due to the burning and heating up of the skin with a hot plasma or fibroblast plasma. Again, several contraindications like diabetes, melasma, rosacea, higher Fitzpatrick levels. Many states, again, require a special license. And then again, you need to make sure that you're covered within the scope of your practice to perform that treatment. So we do not have to worry about that. We do get asked the questions whether or not the cold plasma, Dr. Plasma, is safe for esthetician to use or okay for them. Yes, it's like using LED. There is no harm to the skin. So there is no issue with following your state boards. But we want you to know that true cold plasma, again, is not ablative, not causing any trauma to the skin. And the DrPlaton is a maximum of 8,800 volts, which again, the heat in terms of 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, which is basically body temperature, a degree or two over, It's not the same thing. Okay, so the two types of heads that you're going to see are actually three types of heads, but they're two different categories. One is you're going to see what's called a flat ceramic head, which is known as the dielectric barrier discharge, and that's the Dr.Platon. So you're going to see these flat ceramic heads. So the plasma is generated by frequency current that's going through the ceramic heads. It's interacting with the air, the atmosphere, with the nitrogen and the oxygen in the air, and it's creating plasma. Okay. The next two heads that you see below, called jet plasma, it either looks like a needle or needle-like focused tip, or you'll see one that looks like a glass tube with kind of a little bit of lightning coming in. That type tends to be used for what's called hot plasma, okay? Because that laser-like focus is so targeted that it tends to create a more thermal reaction in the skin. So that's how you know if you're looking at more of a flat-tipped a ceramic head or a flat-tipped head to the device, that's going to be a cold plasma head. There are, again, some companies saying that they have cold plasma using more of this focused tip or this other type of glass with like a lightning shower. And we don't have a lot of information on that. We haven't been able to get actual specs from them in terms of what voltage or what frequency current they're sending through those heads. But we do know for a fact that the flat heads are much less voltage and don't trigger heat in the skin. So those are what we know to be a safe head for when you're working with cold plasma. And again, that's what you'll see in the Tanisher device and what you'll see in the Dr.Platon device. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about the difference between high frequency versus cold plasma. Again, this has come up and we want to give you a little bit more information on this. So all traditional high frequency facial machines, and these have been around for eons and eons and eons. And by the way, I just want to let you guys know, my husband actually is a physicist. So we have these lengthy conversations about high frequency plasma and all this stuff. And a lot of times he says that a lot of things like high frequency, he says you can have high frequency plasma. So I get into all the science weeds with him. Okay. And I said, Joe, but I just need to really distill it down for you guys. Because he says that even technically high frequency machines, there's no such thing as like a high frequency machine. He's like, it depends on what they're doing with the gas and with the frequency. But for the United States, what we know in the field of aesthetics is we know these facial machines that use glass electrodes, right? They can either be in a comb form, they can be round little, bulbs at the end. Sometimes they have different shapes, like spoon shapes and things like that. And they contain either neon gas or argon gas. And that's what we know in the United States in terms of, as estheticians, what we learned in school to be high frequency wands, right? And we've used those to help with, mostly in school, we use them to zap like acne blemishes, right? We'd put like a gauze on the skin and we just zap little blemishes to help add a little bit of oxygenation to the skin to minimize or to help to zap the P. acne bacteria. So when the traditional high frequency wand would be added to the skin, it's allowing a mild electrical current that passes through the neon or the argon gas, and neon being orange, argon being blue. And you'll see it like buzzing a little bit, creating a little glow, a little bit of a smell, right? So my husband says, and he explains this, the high frequency, the reason it's called high frequency is that's the amount of energy that is passed through the gas to get through the glass part of the device. And so the higher the frequency, the lower the wavelength. So it's going to be more superficial in effect. The lower the frequency, as in cold plasma, the deeper it can penetrate into the skin. So this helps you understand in terms of the differences that the devices can be used for, okay? So even though they may smell similarly, or they may sound a little similar, or you're thinking, well, they're using a gas or they're sparking a little bit, they actually are two different modalities, okay? So again, the effects of high frequency are going to be topical. They're going to have more of an antibacterial effect. They will also have a little bit of thermal warming. So you need to be careful because they can heat up the skin. So it's better actually more in a spot treatment versus doing full on face. Again, we talked about the different frequencies and the ability to penetrate in different levels in the skin. Contradictions to high frequency are going to be similar for other electrical devices. So you definitely would want your clients to sign the waiver for that. Also, you guys, very little medical research has been done on, and I just want to verify with Rachel, are you seeing that people are coming into the system here, into the class? Because hopefully she is seeing that. I'm hearing the ding ding that people are coming in, but I am not seeing the way to admit them. So just double checking with Rachel. Okay, so very little medical research has been done on the benefits of high frequency in skincare applications. So even though we went to school and we were told neon, really great for helping with collagen stimulation. For acne, support with acne treatments, we've been saying that argan, which is the blue one, has been helping with that. And some of you have noticed that does, but actually, I don't even know if you guys know that if you took even microcurrent and worked around a blemish or pimple, the electrical current is going to have an oxidizing and actually a really nice antibacterial effect on the blemish. Okay. So it's the electrical component of that is assisting with that. But again, if you Google high frequency in a medical sense, you're going to see very little benefit. That's why you're going to find very little high frequency being used in medical applications or for wound healing or in doctors' offices. Cold plasma, again, has a lower frequency, penetrates deeper into the skin, into the dermal layer. And again, because it's not penetrating a lot of electrical current into the skin, because it's being, I wouldn't use the word deadened, but when it goes through the flat ceramic plates, a lot of it's diffused, okay? And it's not creating the thermal response in the skin as well. So here we are at the specifics of our DrPlaton. Again, I just have to move this a little over here. Good, okay. So DrPlaton is a professional aesthetic device as opposed to the Tanisher. The Tanisher is something that we can use in our treatment room. It's crazy effective, super effective. It's all we had until April. However, it's also considered an over-the-counter or home care device, okay? It's about 1/5, 1/4 the amount of output that the Tanisher or the DrPlaton is going to give. So this is a professional device. So you have to be a professional esthetician, cosmetologist, doctor, nurse, etc., licensed person to purchase the device and to use it. It's made in Korea. So for those of you that, care where your devices are made, that's why we're mentioning this here. Employing breakthrough plasma shower technology. So again, when you see me use the device, you'll see like this kind of gas engaging underneath the skin. That's what's called a showering technology that's getting into the skin. Again, non-thermal plasma, so safe to the touch, non-ablative. There's no downtime, no pain or irritation of the skin, which is really wonderful. So specific features of the DrPlaton, again, the voltage. And again, when you're asking, you want to get information from other vendors or other manufacturers in terms of what their specs are. The DrPlaton is 7,200 to 8,800 volts. Again, about 4 times more powerful than the Tanisher. So for those of you that have the DrPlaton, it does go 5 levels. So level 1, 2 would be about the same as what you're getting with the Tanisher, just, for reference purposes. The treatment is quick, 10 to 20 minutes for the full face. I like to do about 10 minutes maximum if I'm doing it with a facial treatment, just basically boosting product penetration. 20 minutes are what I'm doing for full neck and face if I'm going to be doing a standalone treatment, a targeted treatment. And that's going to be more for, let's say someone's coming in for skin tightening, glycated skin, melasma, etc. Then I'm going to be doing a full 20-minute treatment. Initial results, you'll even see treatment results improvement within 1 session. But usually for more advanced skin conditions, you're going to be requiring a series of 6 to 8 sessions. Okay. So for example, Rachel and I were at the show and we had a wonderful model who let us work on her melasma. And she's a Filipino gal, so about a Fitzpatrick 4. And she had laser. She's had so many different modalities and work on her melasma. Nothing really worked on her. And I said, hey, let's give it a shot. We always have a table set up in the booth. And so we did I did a full 20 minutes on her skin and amazing breaking up of the melasma. However, it's not a one and done. And people have asked this, by the way, when you're working with conditions with hyperpigmentation, especially with melasma and things that are deeper in the skin, you're going to start to notice a breaking up, but then it will come a little bit more to the surface. That's the intention. So just like if you're doing a peel, any other treatment with hyperpigmentation and melasma, it does appear a little bit darker and breaking up before it comes out and off. So just to know that's why you need several treatments for, in particular with hyperpigmentation and melasma. The plasma tips are suitable for a face body. So we're going to talk about the different tip sizes as well. You can work with teenagers. I do as well. I just get parental consent as I do with just working with them for facials in general. The plasma tips for the DrPlaton are ceramic. And again, for the Pro Plasma and other devices, they're plastic, they're disposable, and those are single use, and those are expensive also. Something to keep in mind is that when you're buying a device, one of the things that I do know is that because they have that downtime of after 5 minutes of 2 minutes, a lot of people end up purchasing 2 devices, because if you need to do 10, 20 minutes for one client, right? Depending on the type of session you're doing. So it's really hard to, wait 2 minutes after 5 minutes to be able to use your device again. And the fact that you have a limited amount of time. So if you're doing a 20-minute treatment, that meant that after 2 treatments with that particular client, because they're not sanitizable, it's disposable. The tips cost between $25 and $50 a tip. So that can be very expensive. So you have to remember that you're going to factor that into not only the cost of your treatment, but for me, if I know I only have to purchase a head every 1 to 2 years that cost a couple $100, I'm not going to be spending thousands of dollars on extra heads per year. So that becomes a very expensive treatment for me overall, or an expensive device to have. Okay. So I'm like always trying to pay that device off. Right. So we have also 3 interchangeable tips. So we have a very small tip for like under the eye, upper lip, around the nose area, also spot treatments on various spots. We have a face, one that's used more for facial size, facial area, and then we have a larger one to use on the body area. Requires no ongoing consumables again. Plasma intensity can be adjusted from levels 1 through 5. A small portable device, very easy to take with you. We do have members in our group that actually do portable. You guys are in the field. Some people have a van or a little bus that you guys work with. Some people go into people's homes. So it's really nice to know that this is a very small, easy device to pack up and carry. Also, the unit does not overheat. So that's another major factor, like I mentioned, so you can do back-to-back treatments. It has CE certification and ISO certification. These are European Union certifications similar to the FDA. Also, ISO would be quality. And then we're also, the DrPlaton is undergoing FDA approval. I'm not sure if the other devices that are in the market are doing that here, but we do have that, and we're in the process of that. And so that's great to know. The cost of the device is $3,300. That is wholesale. And usually when we have trade shows or just pretty much at any time, Lydia is very generous and always has an extra gift that you guys can get with a purchase. And that's not counting or not including the extra gift that you guys get when you have a specific dollar amount. So for those of you watching, and if you don't know this, because this has been coming up in the group recently where people are like, oh, shoot, I didn't know that, or I forgot. Anytime you purchase anything with AO Medical, $500 or more, it doesn't matter if it's a device, if it's product, you still get to choose an extra free gift. And they're very generous gifts. So that is in the drop-down menu. There is the last section there says free gift with dollar amount. So that is separate from any other gift that you may get from the trade show, any gift that you may get when purchasing your device. That's an additional gift that you guys can get. So some of the gift choices when you're in that 3,000 category is like a free Time Ester Pro, a free Tanisher, a free Erasure, for example. And then you can go ahead and retail those devices and get anywhere back from $600 to almost $800 if you're going to retail the Tanisher. Not the Tanisher, the Time Ester Pro, sorry. Okay, here we go. And then I'll do some deep dives for you guys on the specific conditions and if there's any in terms of amount of series that we do or how soon you see results. Okay, so with regard to acne, so because this is plasma there's a lot of research. It's very sterilizing. It's sanitizing, antibacterial. It is also, yes, antifungal. So for those of you who are working with clients, a lot of times this is a big thing that comes up. I have a mentoring program and we talk a lot about how to recognize acne or things like perioral dermatitis, what's different, right? So that's a fungal condition. So the nice thing to know is that when you're working with the DrPlaton, it works on all these different skin issues. So it almost doesn't even matter like whether or not it actually is true acne or if it's perioral dermatitis or fungal acne, for example. Okay. So it works great for acne and oily skin, helps to actually control sebum production, which is great. Also effective in destroying the P. acne bacteria. So that's how it also works on acne. It also has a phenomenal effect on PIH, so post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, and PIE, which is post-inflammatory erythema, which is the redness that people get when they have acne. And I'm going to show you before and after of one of my teenage clients that has acne, and the significant reduction in redness and hyperpigmentation just in one session with him. Okay. So with acne, you're gonna see an immediate response. I also love using this for my acne rosacea clients. Acne rosacea clients will typically come in with one of two forms of acne presenting. Sometimes they'll have the red nodules that look like red bumps that look like really angry. So this is going to be really effective for calming and soothing the inflammation, also to work at the bacteria there. And then sometimes you'll see that they come in with little teeny little whiteheads. And this works really effective. And usually after even one session, you almost see an elimination of the little whiteheads there. This can also be used after you guys have done extractions. So think of if you want to do a little bit of, instead of just putting on like a little astringent, you could do extractions and you could do a quick 1 minute pass on the area that you did extractions on. So this is going to be really sanitizing and preventing the bacteria from building up post treatment that way. Also waxing. So this has come up. I was just in, I don't tend to post a lot of comments on a lot of Facebook groups other than ours now, but somebody was asking about basically what was a histamine reaction from a client who had her eyebrows waxed. And so if you haven't seen that before, it's not necessarily something that you guys have done wrong, but people that are new to waxing and have very sensitive skin, you see it sometimes. I don't know if you guys have seen this on upper lips occasionally, where the client will say like a day or two later, they get little white bumps. This is a little histamine reaction. Okay. So a couple ways that you can prevent that is once you've waxed, if you know that the client has really sensitive skin in particular, or more prone to that, and it usually resolves itself as they get used to the waxing. But you can use like some cooling globes, a little cryo work, but you could also take your DrPlaton or your Tanisher, your cold plasma, and go over that area to have a calming, soothing, antibacterial effect and and a sanitizing effect. So this could be a different way to use even post waxing, or if you're working with clients that have ingrown. So for those of you who do Brazilian waxing, for example, people that are doing vagifacials, things like that, where you've got the little ingrown issues, the DrPlaton would be great for that as well. Problematic and irritated skin, it has an antioxidant benefit to the skin. So this is why it's going to be really great for working with people with skin conditions like keratosis pilaris, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea. It will help to work down. Now, it's not so much just focusing on the redness, you guys. What it's doing with rosacea in particular is there's research that it helps to eat up the little Dominic's mites. So if you're familiar with rosacea, and I have a lot of clients that deal with rosacea. So rosacea clients or patients tend to have an excess of this amount of Dominic's mites on their skin, and they don't know what comes first, whether it's this overabundance of mites triggers the rosacea or creates the rosacea, or the rosacea vascular condition triggers having more mites. They don't know what comes first. However, the cold plasma has a beneficial effect on getting rid of these mites or minimizing the mites. So that is another positive effect in how it can work with somebody with rosacea. Again, it also has a very smoothing effect on the skin. So one of the reasons why I think it's going to be really beneficial on somebody with keratosis pilaris, and keratosis pilaris is a condition that happens to be, it appears like little bumps. It tends to be a little bit more on the arms and more on the thighs. People can get them on other areas of the body. Happens to be an actual protein deficiency that people are born with. It's a hereditary condition. So this is not something that somebody just develops acne, and it has to be something that's actually maintained. And it's usually maintained with a combination of chemical exfoliation and moisturization. How utilizing the Tanisher though or the cold plasma, whether it's DrPlaton or the Tanisher, is going to have a nice antibacterial effect and smoothing effect and reducing inflammation on the skin as well. And especially because they have that built up dry kind of irritated skin, this is going to help smooth out the skin areas as well. Again, we have a sterilizing effect and disinfection process. So that's why it's going to be really great, again, post-extractions. Next is for skin regeneration and anti-aging. So cold atmospheric plasma triggers the regeneration epidural regeneration, boosts production of collagen, stimulates formation of new blood vessels, and also assists in wound healing. It also helps to stimulate and strengthen the skin's immunity and the epidermal barrier. So people that have, for example, impaired barriers. That's why this is going to be also really effective on your rosacea clients, because anybody that has rosacea, acne, They have an impaired barrier. So this is going to be beneficial pretty much for everybody, you guys. Okay. So glycated skin is skin that has, it's usually considered irreversible. It's skin that has been damaged, and there's a whole process in terms of what causes it. But not an oxidation, but it's called with an excess amount of sugar in the skin. It's this process that I see a lot of smoker skin have it. People that have done a lot of tanning. It's severely damaged skin that looks like it's crosshatched. So if you see clients that have really, really deep bedded wrinkles, really deep, and some of them, it actually feels a little bit leathery, and it looks like it separates, and it has these deep crevices, and you'll see, again, crosshatch patterns here. You'll see it here. You'll see it in the forehead between the brows. You'll see a heavy, 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 heavy leathered wrinkling in the cheek area, for example. And if you Google glycated skin, it will say there's nothing that you can do to help glycated skin. So I have several clients with this issue, and I have tried over the years to use LED, microneedling, nano, microcurrent, Time Master Pro. I've used just about every device that I've had, and I've used other protocols. I have found a lot of benefit from using the needle-free filler facial with trying to build collagen. However, using the cold plasma, the DrPlaton in particular, with my glycated skin clients, I have seen an amazing regeneration of the skin. The skin feels tighter, looks tighter, smoother. The wrinkles almost are completely almost flattening out and dissolving back into the skin, which is amazing. So I can see that the skin is healing. And I'm also now starting to incorporate it with the needle-free filler facial to work outside, and then using the plasma kind of helping inside as well, but then triggering that collagen with a polylactic acid. So I'm going to show you some pictures, if those of you have not seen them in our group yet, but finding really a major improvement with glycated skin. And again, that's something that you basically had to tell your clients there was nothing much that you could do for them. So skin regeneration and anti-aging is huge. Next is depigmenting. So working with clients that have melasma, hyperpigmentation, whether it's trauma, whether it's, from acne, whatever, we're having a lot of great results on this. Now, people that have, and this is kind of true with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation in general, people that, when you're dealing with clients with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, it's a lot easier. And if you've done peels or other work with them, it's much easier to lift because it's more superficial. When you're working with melasma, you can have a more topical, a more epidermal-based melasma, but a lot of times the hormonal pigmentation is deep in the dermis, and it's really, really hard to get that to budge. So this is really, really promising. What's happening with using the cold plasma, it is working to kind of blast, but in a gentle way, not in an ablative, a heat way, like you would do with laser, for example. So you don't have to worry about it triggering any melasma. It actually starts to break it up, and then it comes to the surface, and then it starts to disappear, which is fabulous. And you still want to work with home care with your clients, like on some tyrosinase inhibitors, for example. I love vitamin C. I love Vita C Ampule by Dr. Esti. I love the Dr. Esti Whitening A Serum, for example. But you will definitely see a reducing of the inflammation and the pigment in the skin. And then also, like I said, it also helps to boost absorption. So this means that it's going to increase the product penetration post treatment. That's why we like to do it at the beginning of any treatment, by 24% over the next 12 hours. Now, this has come up in the group. Somebody has asked the question whether or not we want to do this with a peel. So if I'm doing a light peel, even like the goat milk peel or a light lactic peel, for example, or even the Tiffany peel, this is going to be totally safe. If you guys were in a medical spa and you were doing a really intense 40, 50% peel, for example, and you're like, hey, I don't really want to boost product penetration in terms of my peel before, I probably wouldn't do it at that time then. Okay. If you were concerned about having it be too aggressive with a particular peel that you were doing. But I will tell you that I have done it effectively and safely with the goat milk peel, with the Tiffany peel, which is a 30% combination of lactic acid and lactobionic. So it would have to be something much stronger that you would be concerned about using it with. But so far, we have not had that be an issue in terms of doing any facial treatment that we've done in our treatment rooms post DrPlaton. If you're just going to use a minute or two to kind of go over the skin and just do a little bit of increasing product penetration, you're not doing a full 20-minute treatment, I think you'd be fine. Also, remember, you guys, you have 5 levels. So if you want to do like a level 1, or level 2, just to increase a little product penetration and not doing a really intense treatment, that would be totally fine. Or even just using the Tanisher, which again is at about, a quarter of the amount of, in terms of, well, it's like equivalent to level 1, 2 of the DrPlaton. So that would be an option if you guys were really, really concerned and you were going to do something. But then again, why I'm using it with my more advanced treatments is twofold. If I'm going to use it just with almost any advanced treatment, I'm usually doing it because I want to increase product penetration. When I'm using it and combining it with the, we have a particular facial treatment called the Advanced Skin Brightening Treatment. That one's all about not just product penetration, but it's also about breaking up hyperpigmentation. So that one I'm going to do a full 10 minutes because that's my intention on the front end. But that one also only uses a goat milk peel for 2 minutes. And then it uses the spicules, and the spicule is more something that you're applying and penetrating with pressure. So then if the skin was a little more sensitive, you could just kind of go a little bit lighter on the skin with your massage for that. But yeah, so I guess if I was doing a really strong retinol, I would probably just do a level 1. If you wanted to use it because of hyperpigmentation, or you wanted to use it because of glycation, or you want to do it for skin tightening, you could either do a separate session where you have the client come in separately, for just a 20-minute DrPlaton treatment, and then do the peel separately. So again, up to you guys. I don't use super, super strong, aggressive peels in my practice. So it would have to be, your call in terms of whether or not you wanted to use it. And if so, I would just say start on a lower level and just for a shorter period of time. So I'm using it with all my higher end facial treatments. I'm automatically incorporating DrPlaton in my treatments. Even if it's just for a small 5 minutes, just to help with a particular issue or to help with product penetration. For anybody that has an issue like melasma or glycated skin or severe acne, for example, I would then have them come in and do specific 20-minute sessions that I would do in series to work on resolving a particular issue. Okay, I want to just show you guys some before and after pictures. These are usually the favorite parts of the classes. Okay, so these are just going to show you some examples of clients that we've worked with and what we're doing. So this is one of my clients, and I've actually done a series of 7 on her, but I wanted just to show you guys just in 3 sessions, and these were 3 days apart. So this is a client that I did not want to do anything else on initially. I just wanted to see what my DrPlaton could do. And you can see that she has severe glycated skin. It's heavy, heavy, heavy wrinkling. Like if I blow this up on the sides, you will see wrinkle, 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 crease, 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 crosshatch pattern, wrinkle. Okay. She's also a smoker. So she's probably been smoking since she was a teenager, and she's 76. Okay. So that's a lot of smoking. Okay. So you can see, I could see the improvement in the tightening, the minimizing of the wrinkles, the tightening even of the skin, like on her upper lids, and the quality of her skin. So her skin became, after 3, 4, 5 treatments, her skin was like butter, super soft. Now, a question that comes up, people have asked this: how long does it last when you do a treatment? Okay, if you're actually repairing the skin, and by the way, with cold plasma, the effects are not just temporary. Not only do they last, but they actually continue to build days and weeks after you've done a session, especially if you've done a 20-minute session. So it's not just what you've accomplished and what you've seen before and after. So when you see them, even next time, you should see actual more improvement than when you did today, if you saw them a week from now. Okay. So that's what I was seeing. So this particular client, because she still smokes, it's like if you have a client that's coming into you for treatment for hyperpigmentation, but they still tan, you're going to have a hard time, like really like getting ahead of it, right? Because they're going to keep doing things that are going to be detrimental to the skin and to the issue that you're trying to deal with. So with glycated skin, if you have somebody that keeps smoking, I'm going to see improvement, and she holds, but it's not going to be as good as if she wasn't smoking, if that makes sense, right? So she's still going to have normal wear and tear from aging process. But when you're working and breaking up somebody's melasma or breaking up somebody's PIH, that technically would be, lasting unless they have something that's going to trigger something new that's coming up. Okay, if that makes sense. So she's now coming in after that series that I've done of 7, and then I went on vacation. I'm now having her come in for a combination of DrPlaton Cold Plasma with the needle-free filler facial. And I'm seeing phenomenal results because now I'm trying to plump her from the inside out with the PLLA. But when I'm working with clients now, I'm really working hard at trying to show you guys like, okay, if I'm just doing DrPlaton, what results am I going to see? I'm also working with one of my daughter's friends who has severe alopecia. And I'm now doing a series of treatments on her just with cold plasma. And there's a lot of scientific research that it helps to assist with alopecia and help to work with clients with hair loss. So I'm just, that's all I'm doing right now on her. Eventually I'm going to be adding red LED, which I know is beneficial as well, but I just want to be, just do a series on her to see where we can go with that. So again, here is an example now on the right where I'm doing a combination of DrPlaton cold plasma with a needle-free filler facial to show you that you can get now this effect with regenerating the skin, but then also kind of plumping from the inside out. And I will tell you that when I just did the needle-free filler facial without the DrPlaton, I did not get the same results. So that's very promising. Okay. Here's an example on the bottom right of working with a first-time client that I was going to be doing an omega green facial because he had some acne scarring, a little bit of PIH, but I wanted to show you just the amount of lightening. And this is only a minute. This is something really important to know is when we're working with 10 minutes, each side of the face, for example, and now in this treatment, I only did 5 minutes each side of the face. I'm only probably doing 30 seconds at most around the eye area. So it's not like I'm doing 5 minutes around the eye. That's a lot, right? So I'm doing 5 minutes on one side and 5 minutes on the other with a facial, or a standalone, I'm doing 10 minutes on one side and 10 minutes on the other side. Okay. Okay. And so you can see that I did get a significant amount of lightening with just one treatment. And what I would do is if you wanted to come in and get more lightening done, I would probably do a series of anywhere from 4 to 6 and just see how we went. And I would do them anywhere from 1 to 2 times a week, but you want to make sure you're doing about 3 to 4 days in between because the skin is still working. The plasma effect is still working. So you don't want to do it every day. I always compare it to like lifting weights. It's like if you're trying to build muscle, you're not going to be lifting heavy weights every day. You're going to stagger, the days in between that you're working out. So similar. Okay. This is a new client of mine that on the left, she is 82 years old. And she had lots of treatments done. We're talking laser, different treatments done at med spas. And she was very discouraged. She started coming to me a few months ago and she said, Lynn, all I want to do is a regular facial, hydrating facial. I don't want to spend any more money on those treatments. She didn't really think they worked. And then I was showing her, she has some glycated skin as well. Upper lip, you can see a little bit on the cheek area here, in the crow's and the 11 lines here. And so I was showing her the work that I was doing with that other previous client. And so she said, you know what, I would like to try that because she said, first off, I charge $99 for a half-hour treatment. So it's not super expensive compared to thousands of dollars that she was paying for laser work. Okay. And so she said, if it makes me look a little bit younger, a little bit, more rejuvenated, let's go for it. Okay. So I had already done a couple of treatments on her, but this was her treatment from this week and it was 20 minutes. And I want to show you just the in-treatment, just one 20-minute session. So she's going to be coming in for a series now and we're just doing these. And then when she comes in every month or 5 weeks, we're just doing more of like a regular facial. So I'm not even doing like a needle-free filler facial or anything on her. I'm just doing a regular facial, but now I'm doing a series once a week of DrPlaton. So you can see a plumping of the skin. You can see a wearing down of the wrinkles. And she is just really loving the benefits that she's getting. And she's amazing, looks amazing for 82 years old. This is my mom. Rachel's my mom, actually, on the right side. And this is to show you an example of lightening and brightening. This was 3 treatments that I did over the course of 4 days. Now, normally I would not do that, but this is when I first got the device in April. My mom was visiting for 1 weekend and I was like, okay, got to go. We got to see how this works, right? So normally I wouldn't recommend doing it that often or that frequently, but I wanted to show you that my mom has been dealing with this orange raccoon eyes forever. We tried hydroquinone. We tried peels. We tried vitamin C, all sorts of treatments. Okay. And she got a significant reduction in the raccoon eyes with the orange after these 3 treatments, as well as it's maybe hard to see here, but as well as a reduction in the amount of crepiness that she had in her skin. Okay. So she came back a month later, and I have to get an updated picture from her, but now she has almost no orange there at all. It's completely gone. She lives in Arizona too, which is a good testament, because that could have popped back up. And also my mom wears glasses that have like those bifocals at the bottom. So whenever I would see her, like all I saw kind of on the bottom there was that, a significant amount of not only the wrinkling, but the orange. And we were just on vacation together, and I didn't notice any of that. So that is really awesome to know that you can break up something that has been non-responsive to other traditional treatments. Okay, here is an example of one of my teen clients that I mentioned to you, just to show you a reduction in some of the redness, and also a little bit of the PIH just after one session. So this was only doing 10 minutes total. I did 5 minutes on one side of the face and 5 minutes on the other. So that was, I thought, pretty promising. All right, this is my dear friend Barrett, who I'm not sure if she's on tonight, but I hope she is. And she's actually in aesthetic school. So she just came in, and she hasn't gotten really much of anything done. She's a gorgeous lady. She's 50. And so I did a treatment on her, a 20-minute DrPlaton and 10 minutes of Timester Pro. And even though she doesn't have like a lot of damage, okay, even though she grew up in Arizona, God blessed her with good genes. If you look, when I blow up around her eyes, and I was able to show, she did have some minor wrinkling around the eye area. And that was almost completely eradicated with the session that I did, one session. So when you have people that don't require a lot of work, 1 or 2 sessions, they're going to notice a huge change. If you have, just like with all our clients, right? If you have somebody that's the client that's 76 and a smoker, or 82 and has a lot of damage to the skin, it's going to require more treatments and more time. Okay. So that's the same as whether you're working with a peel, with anything. So you're going to notice that some people are going to need more. And some people are going to need less. We saw really good results just after one session. She's coming in this week, and I'm going to do another session on her on Friday. And I can show you the improvements then. Okay, so we're going to do a quick run through, just quickly, Tanisher, what it is, the difference between that and DrPlaton, and then we're going to go into our demo. Okay, so Tanisher, for those of you who've had it, this is a wonderful, very performance-driven device that has 2 heads. I'm just showing you here the plasma head. There is a galvanic head as well. And I want to mention this because several of you have this device or can't, let's say, afford the DrPlaton in the moment. We want to let you know that the Tanisher Plasma, again, was all Rachel and I had since last fall. And we were getting phenomenal results with acne and tightening in particular, and product penetration. So we want you to know that don't feel like, oh, shoot, I can't afford the DrPlaton right now. It can be on your wish list. Okay. But for now, if you have the Tanisher, it's amazing. Okay. So Tanisher has 2 levels to it. And I have a complete demo in the Esti Sisters group on how to use this device. Okay, so we're not going to go through this device tonight on how to use it, but we have a full demo. So it still is used for brightening, tightening. But again, it compares to level 1, 2 on the DrPlaton. So what does that mean? It just means you're going to need more treatments, more frequent treatments. The Tanisher is safe enough to use daily at the low level. Okay, so this is a device that can be sold retail to clients. When would I sell it retail to clients? If somebody has major skin issues or acne, for example, or eczema or psoriasis or something that's chronic that can't keep coming in for treatment after treatment after treatment, selling them a home care device is awesome. And being able to have that where they can pick it up and work on themselves is great. And I'm going to put, these are the articles that I'm going to put for you guys in the Esti Sister group. So I just want to just give you, this is only a tip of an iceberg of things that you're going to find. The emerging potential of cold atmospheric plasma and skin biology. Many of these are National Institute of Health, cold plasma and dermatology. And by the way, the plasma being used in these treatments, they determined that the cold atmospheric plasma using nitrogen is most effective for skin conditions. So you will hear some other devices using other gases like argon, helium, for example. The cold atmospheric plasma is what there's most recommending for use in skin conditions. So you will see using it for ameliorating skin diseases, wound treatment. I found this. I'm so excited. Many of you guys know that I deal with major vitiligo, which is absence of pigment. It's an autoimmune condition. I found an article just recently that they've been using cold plasma successfully with vitiligo. So I'm going to try to work on some of my body to see how that works. And I didn't even mention here about all the hair loss and the alopecia effect. So there's a ton of information. So if you guys want to type in medical research in Google for cold atmospheric plasma or CAP, a ton's going to pop up. And it's going to say cold atmospheric plasma, which is what the DrPlaton is. So that's great. So again, I didn't put the links here because you wouldn't be able to copy them, but we'll put the links in our Facebook group. Okay. And I'm going to do a 10-minute demonstration for you guys. I am going to quick show you how to kind of assemble the different pieces of the DrPlaton for those of you who have it, because one of the things that people struggle with is the little holder for the wand. And then I'm going to switch down and do the demonstration. Okay, so first off, this is what our DrPlaton device looks like. When it comes to you, it's going to have, this is going to be out, okay? This is the cord that's going to be attaching to the wand. It's going to go in the top here, okay? You have the cord that goes in the back that then plugs into the wall outlet, okay? And then you have the other cord that's going to plug in. This is the part that goes in the top here, that gray part here. It gets plugged into the back of the device. There's a large hole here that it gets plugged into. And we want to remind you guys, we put a notice on, and it's coming with the DrPlaton now, is that once you snap in the cord here, you want to make sure that you don't remove it. You just want to keep it plugged in here. You want to minimize any abrasion to the cord or any irritation to the cord itself. So just keeping it plugged in is good to go. Okay. You also get, and I'm going to unscrew this to show you, you're going to get 3 heads. And by the way, I have this little bag that came with, I believe it came with the little white device, but you guys can find some kind of a little case or bag to keep your heads in, because when they come, they're just in a plastic little container and then our plastic, pouch. And you throw that away. So you want to make sure that you have something to store your ceramic heads in so they don't fall, break, crack, and you don't lose them. Okay, so we've got our small little head, and this is the one that's used for around the eye area, the lip area, around the nose. We then have a mid-size head, ceramic head, that is used for the face, and I use it for the face and neck. And then we have the larger area, and I'll show you, it's about twice the size, a little bit over twice the size. And that's the one that I use for body parts. So if I'm working on somebody's arms, if I'm working on their chest, if you're doing the legs, whatever other body part, back, this would be great for back acne as well. So whatever other body parts you're going to do, I'd be using the largest head. Now, the heads are sanitizable. We're going to talk about how to clean at the end, but I'm going to mention that they last for at least a year. And I would say more so for the heavy use one, a year, which is going to be your facial one. The little eye one, you're using really just for like a minute at a time around the eye area, upper lip, for example. So this one's probably going to last you the longest. And then the body one, it's going to obviously depend on how much how often and how much time you're spending. Like if you're spending hours working on the body, this one might last a little, not as long. But again, when you repurchase these, they're $200. And again, to get about a year from each one, and that's with a lot of use, that's awesome. Because like I said, some of the other manufacturers, you have to purchase them after 40 minutes and it's single use. So that does add up if they're $25 to $50 per head. And then I want to show you, this is the little piece that holds the wand. Okay, so people ask how to put this in. It is a little tight to put on, but once it's on, it's on. So it looks like a little kind of, I think it looks like one of those little Batman things with the little coming up the top. So you're going to have the little ears facing back toward you. And so the bottom is rounded where it says Platon. And so you're just going to snap this in like so. Okay, so don't worry about breaking. I mean, you push it in, but as long as you have the ears pointing to the back and the flat round piece at the front, that's how you know what direction. So that when you're using your wand, you put it in a store, it's going to go in like this. Okay, does that help? We also have a little video that we can put in the Facebook group just showing you that, but actually, I can do it one more time. Take it off. Again, the ears go to the back. The round piece is at the bottom, and then you're going to see this little area here. So it's going to snap right on. Push it down, snap it on. This will turn off after 10 minutes. So when I'm changing my heads, I'm usually, I either stop it or change it after, the 10 minutes or before I start. So you can have this part of the device on. It's just the unit's on, but the wand isn't on. At some point, if you're noticing you're not getting any more of the sparking and the interaction and the plasma being generated, that's when you're going to replace the heads. These need to be sanitized with alcohol. They have to be sanitized with alcohol because we've had people say that they get a buildup of brown stuff kind of on here. It does a slight exfoliating of the skin. And I don't want to use that like, oh, you're actually exfoliating, like counting the exfoliation, but it'll remove a little makeup or a little bit of dead skin cells. So especially when you've used this on a client for the first time and the skin still has a lot of dead skin there built up, you'll notice a light yellowy or little brownish color on here, discoloration. That's just the little skin that's on there, you guys, or the little product. So even if you've done a good cleanse or double cleanse, so when you work with the alcohol and remove it, it goes away. So you definitely, if you're using something like other towelettes that are not alcohol, you'll notice that you can't clean them. So it's not that this burnt out like the other heads from the other devices. It didn't burn out. It's just that you have a buildup of product or skin on here. So when you clean them, and I was going to talk about cleaning at the end, but I'll talk about it now. I love to use little alcohol wipes, and you can get sprays, but these are just so convenient. So I take one and I just get in here really well and do the whole thing. And I make sure you'll notice that there's a plastic part here. Let me show you. So there's plastic here and there is the ceramic head in the middle. And I want to also mention this because this comes up every so often. You'll hear people say, well, aren't you supposed to hold it a millimeter off the skin or whatever? Technically, the thing that's gliding over the skin, you guys, is the plastic, and the ceramic head is actually recessed in at least a millimeter, okay? But you have to lightly go along the skin in order to create any kind of plasma. So if you're trying to hold this above the skin and you're going like this, you are creating no plasma. You won't hear it, and you won't smell it, and you won't see it. Okay. So when you're doing it correctly and gliding gently, you will hear it, you will smell it, and you will see it. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that. So when you're cleaning it super well, just make sure, again, you're kind of going in here and you're going all around the rim, in the middle, and then all over. And then I put it back in my little baggie when it's sanitized. So in terms of how to put the head in, it is spring loaded. So I don't know if you guys have had it and you're like, hey, it's a little hard to get the head in. It is spring loaded. So what I mean by that is if you try to put this in, it takes a little bit. So you're going to start to screw it and you're going to notice it has a little springy effect. So it's not just a super screw it in really easy, but it has a little springy effect to it. And then once it's in, it's in. Okay. And then changing the head, you just unscrew and you sanitize and you put the other head in. Same way. So I'm going to put this back in again. So it just takes a second. So just hold it. You got to, find the thread. And again, it feels a little springy. And then you put it in and you're all good. Okay. So for the device to turn it on, you have a on-off button here. This is to turn the device on. When the device is on, it's glowing blue at the bottom there. Okay. So it's on. This can be left on while you're changing the heads. So the wand is not on. Okay, so you can leave that on, change it. Yep. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that the face is cleansed. Right? Ava's already done that. And we never use product with cold plasma, meaning it's always going on clean, dry skin. And what I mean by that is skin that's not damp and doesn't have any product on it. But it doesn't mean that we can't do this on oily skin, because I've had people ask like, well, can it be done on oily skin? I don't mean dry as in the skin condition. I mean dry as in no moisture on the face. Now, that being said, if you're doing it post acne or somebody has a little bit of moisture on the skin from a blemish or irritation or some eczema, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm meaning, like once you've cleansed the skin, I then make sure I blotted the skin with a towel, for example, because if you have that damp skin, you get a lot of drag, a lot of pull and a lot of drag. So we're trying to minimize that. This allows you to glide very gently, and it's in that gliding process that is triggering and stimulating the plasma, okay? So what I'm going to show you here is you have your wand, and you will see that there is a start button up there at the top. So you push that. It's just like our typical starting a computer, okay? Start button. So that now you should see, let's see if we can see this. Okay, can you see where it just says 0, 1? Can you see that? So it says 0, 1. So if you push the up level, that's how you're going to increase the amount of the level that you have. So I just went to level 2 by pushing the plus sign. I went to level 3 by pushing the plus sign. Level 4, level 5. If you want to go down, you just push the minus sign and you now went down to level 4. So that's how you change the levels. It's going to automatically go and start when you push the start button on the wand, it's going to start with 10 minutes. Okay. So I just kind of watch it where I'm usually making sure that I'm visually looking at this, or you could set a timer for yourself if you want to go like, how do I know it's 5 minutes? If you are doing a full face treatment, you are going to be doing 10 minutes on one side and 10 minutes on the other. The device does turn off after 10 minutes. Okay. That being said, I'm going to share with you my little tip if you want to just do 5 minutes and 5 minutes. I do tend to do 10 passes starting on the neck, working my way up in 1/2 inch increments. And usually I can do that in 5 minutes. And then I do 5 minutes on the other side. So that can just give you a little rule of thumb so you don't feel like you have to worry about, going over on one side if you're trying to do an even 5 minutes on each side. Okay. So when I start with clients, I'm going to show you this. So I'm starting with the level 5. For most of my clients, I can do a level 5. With the exception of around the eye area, I tend to do a level 4 to start. Now, if you had a client that had, more aggravated rosacea or very sensitive skin, sure, you could start with a level 2 or 3. It's like I said, a level 2 is about what a Tanisher is. So it's very, very mild. But most of my clients, I'm able to do a level 5, but always check in with them. Now, you will hear a noise. So sometimes the noise, and they feel a little bit of tingling, a little bit of sparking, but it's not really like it causes pain. They just feel it. So if that is a little disconcerting for a client, then just go down to level 4, for example, or level 3. Okay. So you have plenty of room to work with here. So in order to start the timer and to start the plasma creation when we touch the skin, you're going to push this bottom button. And then you're going to see looks like a little lightning bolt. That means that the plasma will be activated. We're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. Okay. Clean hands, clean face. We are going to start with the neck. Now, I love to hold taut. Now, Ava is young. She doesn't have a lot of loose skin, but for clients that have loose skin, that's when the need to hold taut comes really into play. So I'm going to start in her neck area and then just show you how I work. So I hold taut. Now, when you're working with the client, you can see that I'm just lightly gliding over the surface of the skin. And I can hear it. Can you guys hear it? Can somebody like Nancy or someone, can you hear this, or Lona? Yep. So it sounds, when you do like a level 4, let me go down. If you do a level 4, it changes. And if you do a 3, do you hear that? It changes in the sound. So you can tell that it's more intense when I'm doing the level 5 in terms of the sound. Okay. Now, as you progress and you're working with clients more frequently, like let's say you're doing a series, you'll notice, because people have asked this, like, can you go back and forth? If somebody doesn't have, if they have very taut skin and very healthy skin like she does, you could probably do this back and forth, no problem. Now, most of my clients are my aging clients. I have to go in one direction. Otherwise, I'm going to get dragged. There's no way that I can go back and forth. Okay. But it shows you, so that glycated client that I had, by the time I did her 4th session, her skin was like butter. I could go, you know what I mean? It was like awesome to see the improvement in her skin when I had so much drag in the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to do 10 passes, you guys, in one area about this speed. You always want to do before and after photos with clients. Typically, if you're trying to work with like melasma, you guys, or acne, you could take the photos lying down, it's fine. When you're working with clients for tightening, glycated skin, you're working with wrinkles, I still think it's best to do sitting up or standing up, because that's how they're going to see the eyebrows lift. That's how they're going to see the tightening of the face and the tightening of the jawline, for example, right? If you're laying flat, you don't really get to see the full effect. So I'm just overlapping about a half an inch. Does that feel okay? Too zappy for you? You can ask your client. Now, I said most of my clients are fine with a level 5. So just check in with them. If you feel like they seem like they're moving a little bit or whatever, flinching, then just go down. Again, it doesn't hurt them. They just feel the little sensation. But have any of you had that where your clients, where you're working with the TimeMaster Pro with the electromuscle stimulation, where some of them are like, whoa, and it doesn't necessarily mean it hurts. It's just that it feels really kind of wiggy. And so sometimes you have to go a little bit lower because the sensation is a little bit too much for them. So I like to go in the direction, starting with the neck and working my way up, because with all my modalities, I really like to encourage like that upper movement. You know, that's just what I always do. So because this does assist in tightening and skin tightening, kind of doing that little encouragement of moving in the upper fashion, I think is good. That being said, if you had somebody that you were trying to work on one area and you're really focusing on hyperpigmentation and you're kind of going like in a certain area like that, just working, you know, like on a pigmented spot, you don't have to worry that it's going to cause drooping or anything like that. I'm just saying that as a rule of thumb, I tend to go in an upward motion when I'm doing my modalities with my clients. So again, it's usually relaxing for the client. There's no trauma, there's no heat. Again, it's more the sensation and the smell and the noise, but it's not hurting them, and it's not hurting the skin. It can even be used in the science literature. It's actually being used on top of wounds in hospitals for wound healing. So if it can be used for wounds and wound healing, it's going to be safe for healthier skin, right? And so then when I'm working around here, just to create a lift and a tightening, I have a lot of clients that have the droopy. You'll see that, the aging, the droopiness around the ear. So I will work around the ear as well. And Ava has issues more with like the sebum control. So this is going to be really nice for her. She has a little bit of hyperpigmentation from some, you know, some PIH, but not much. So again, you can just decide, you know, if the client's indicated for it. Most of my clients, if I'm working with my teens, usually have acne. So I'm using it for, you know, PIH and like acne relief. So in the chin area, you can just do smaller sections. Same with upper lip. Now I can still switch to the smaller tip, but I do tend to use my big one here as well. The smaller tip for here is more for my glycated clients that I really need to get in there and work down. Otherwise, the big one goes over pretty well. Don't have to worry about like if it goes to the corner of the upper lip, it doesn't cause any irritation. And then I want to show you how to work around the eye area too, and the nose area. So it's a very relaxing treatment for you as well. The device is I would say not super, super heavy, medium, but if somebody has a hard time with this, like in this, with your arm or whatever, you can stand up, you guys. I find sometimes when I'm working, if I need a little bit of relief and make it easier on my arm, I find it's really easy if I stand up and do it. Then I don't feel like, you know, it's holding and it's creating a little bit of tension on my, my bicep if I'm doing a lot of treatments a day. So you definitely could stand up and do it, especially I'm right-handed. When I'm working on the left side of the face, sometimes it's just easier if I stand up and do that side of the face. Totally up to you. This will also help with enlarged pores, minimizing enlarged pores. She does have some scarring here. So now, because I was talking and I didn't do a full treatment, you know, on her side, I'm just restarting it. So anytime you restart it, it just starts 10 minutes again, okay? And then you could just go, if you missed, you know, you want to do a few more minutes on a particular side of the face, you could do that. Again, because this device is a maximum 8,800 volts, even at level 5, it's not heating up. There's no heat generated. So like the other device that you guys were asking about, after 5 minutes, we would have to turn off the device and let it cool down for 2 minutes. I can keep going. I could do 20 minutes an hour treatments back to back. It's not an issue. So that's really important when you're working in the treatment room, not to worry that you can't, you know, keep going with your device. It's also plugged in. I know this is a question people ask, is whether or not it's like more of a battery operated or charged. It can't be, in order to have the maximum voltage coming through. So if you want to have that steady current, any device that's going to be more of a chargeable kind of handheld without being plugged in will not have that continuous current. So it needs to be plugged into the outlet. So like I mentioned, if I have a client that has deep indentation around the upper lip, I will switch to that, but I will first work with one head and finish. And then I will go back in if I need to and do like another minute on a specific area or around the eyes. So I'm going to show you in a sec here. I'll show you how I work with the eye area. So you don't necessarily have to switch to the other one, because if what I do is I will pull down the skin here and I will work here. And I'm at a level 4 for her. So that's really tolerable for eye area. If somebody can tolerate the 4, you can ask them if you can try a level 5, but the eye area tends to be a little bit more sensitive, the under eye area. Okay, so then you can, as you notice, this is a pretty wide head. I can go right almost up to the lash line, even with this, okay? However, if I had somebody that had a lot of pigmentation, very crepey skin, I would then swap out to the small head, and it can just be a little bit easier to work with. And especially getting in around the nose area. If you want to work around the nose area, the smaller head's going to help. So I'm going to finish up with this, and then I'll swap out to the smaller head to show you what I'm talking about. Crow's feet. Yeah. I'll show you this with eyebrows. This works really good for crepiness and tightening of the upper eye area. So I like to pull up, and you can work on top of the hair here. So I go. You just don't go right over the eyeball, but you can definitely pull up and get a lot of the skin that's loose here. So Ava doesn't have loose skin, but a lot of your older clients are going to have loose skin here. So this really helps with tightening, as well as anybody that deals with that hyperpigmentation that's around the eyes. You have some clients that get those kind of, you know, circles all the way around their eyes. This helps with that as well. Okay. Rachel, are you letting people in? I don't know if you're letting people.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think I'm able to do that anymore.
Okay, so let me just quickly see if I can do that for you really quick here, Rach. There were some people trying to get in. Hang on one second, guys. Rachel, make co-host. Okay, there you go. There we go. Sorry, guys.
And if you could make me a...
That's all I can do right now.
Okay.
It's not allowing anything. Okay, so what I will also do then, you guys, on the forehead is separate. I'll start off where I'll do, you know, horizontal. Okay, and then I'm going to work my way up. And then after I've done the horizontal and work my way up, I'm now going to do vertical. This will give a nice brow lift as well. So again, it's really great for tightening. And again, the reason why I often do the 2 patterns is because a lot of times I'm dealing with clients that have those kind of heavy wrinkles. So again, I want to do the lift, but I also want to work in the wrinkle as well. So again, Ava doesn't really have that as an issue, but yeah. So it's just really gentle glide. It's really easy strokes. And again, if you do a series of 10, it tends to get you to where you want to go. Now, if I was going to be doing a treatment on somebody and I was doing a 20-minute treatment where I'm doing 10 minutes on this side, 10 minutes on this side, that's usually because I'm working with glycated skin, melasma, for example. So in that case, after I finish the head like this, the full side of the face, I have enough time that I can go back. And so she's got a nice scar here, a couple nice scars. So I could go back and just target an area, target some more of the hyperpigmentation, target some more of the severe glycation. You can then turn this off. So I turn this off here. Just hold the on button, hold it in, it turns it off. I'm going to swap out and put the small head on to show you how I use that. And we don't really have a lot of buildup here, but there's a little bit of buildup, not really that much. It's just a little bit of yellowing, not much here. Okay, so now I'm going to put on the small head and show you what this looks like. Okay, so again, similar way you put it on. And I'm going to turn the device on, turns on, and I'm going to start with the level 4 because that's just comfortable for her. And then I'm hitting start. And I just increased my level to 4. And so it's starting me with 10 minutes. Even if I only want to go back and do like a 1 minute, like let's say I've done 10 minutes on the full face, and now I just want to do 1 extra minute around the eye or the upper lip. Then I just do, watch for a minute, and then I just turn the device off and I'm done. So it doesn't mean that you have to, do a full 10 minutes. Okay, so here's the eye area. So I'm going to go slow. Okay, she wants me to go down 1 level. She's just telling me. So I'm taking it down to a 3. Now, most of my clients, again, can tolerate a 4 here, but she wants a 3. So just go where they can. And again, Eva, would you describe, what does it feel like? Does it feel a little bitey, or what would you describe it? She's thumbs up. She's saying a little bitey. So again, it's similar kind of feel to the high frequency, but most people can tolerate it fine. But again, she's just really sensitive. She has a little bit of hyperpigmentation here, a little blotch. So you can actually go and just do a little bit of a circular motion on there. But again, you're probably only doing like a minute total around the eye. So you're not going to do like 5 minutes around the eye. Okay, that's a lot. So, and then this is really great again for like in the nose area, because if you try with the bigger head, it's really hard to get in the nose area. So clients who are dealing with, acne, enlarged pores, hyperpigmentation, and the nose, this is going to be great. I'm just doing a little sliding around in here. Her nose is very taut, so I don't have to worry about issues with drag. Then down the upper lip here, I would just kind of work in the furrow lines if somebody had furrow lines. And usually the furrow lines are up and down, so I'm working this way, trying to just kind of splay them out. So again, when I say if I'm doing more of an advanced treatment, I'm doing 20 minutes. It could be 22 minutes if I feel like I want to do a separate, 1 minute on each eye, for example. Totally up to you guys to be flexible. Okay. And then in here, this is usually where people get a lot of the furrows. So I usually like to really zap in here, and I usually do a lot of the circular motion in here to break up the 11 lines. People deal with that. And then also, you will also see people that have like that indentation right across the bridge of the nose. And this is really helpful because it's tiny enough to get in there as well. Whereas the larger piece, you're going to have a hard time getting in that area. So it is okay to do some circular motion, but in order for it to stay active, if you just hold it, you'll hear a little bit of a buzzing, but it's not the same amount of plasma being generated as the movement and drawing it across the skin, because it's working with the air, right? So that's why you're going to hear more if you're actually moving it. Okay. And again, any other little place that you feel like, oh, hey, I have some little area, you can just get in there with the little guy here. So I'm going to turn this off. So then what I would do is I would go back and I would repeat either, do the exact same thing on the other side of the face. I would start, with my flathead. I would usually do, you guys, full face with this head. So it just saves time. So I would do this side, this side. Then if I want to go back and do some work with a small head, then I'm going to go and swap out and do the small head and then do maybe a minute on each eye or a little bit in the upper lip. Okay. So it just saves you from trying to take this off, put this on, take it off, put it on, you know what I mean? Just for ease of time. So then once you're done, this is still on. And again, this is not an issue being on. This is off. So you can either just put it back in your stand. Of course, after you clean the tip, let me show you. So you can set it back in your stand. Or if you decide you have time in between clients, you can just go ahead and turn it off. Totally up to you. So I'm going to go ahead now and sanitize both these tips. If somebody really has like a lot of darkness around the eyes and a lot of crepiness, then I might do, and they have glycation, for example, like a lot of things going on, then I might do a full minute. Okay. But that's a lot. And depending on what level you're at too, a level 4 around like a minute is actually quite a bit. Typically when I'm treating part of a facial, I'm doing 5 minutes on each side face. So if I'm doing a treatment for, hyperpigmentation, glycated skin, anti-aging, tightening, and I do a standalone, I'm doing a 20-minute session. It could even be 22 minutes if I'm doing an extra 2 minutes around the eyes, one minute each eye. I do want to talk about pricing though in marketing. So I don't want to let you guys go. I know we're getting late, but I don't want to forget that. So I'll just briefly talk about pricing. It's going to be different for everybody. I do know that some competitor models out there, other plasma units, the people are charging for a 20-minute session anywhere from $300 to $600. I do want to say that I feel like that's an awful lot because you're not applying any product. It's simple use of this device. So you guys are going to have to make up your own price points. What I feel comfortable with is knowing that if I'm going to be doing a series with a client, now, if somebody has glycated skin, they need tightening, they have hyperpigmentation, acne, etc., they're going to need a series. Chances are 6 to 8. They're coming in for a 20-minute session for me. I book a half hour. They're coming in, I cleanse the skin, I do 20 minutes of DrPlaton, and then I put a treatment serum on, an SPF, and they're done. I'm charging $99 for that because my clients are coming in once to twice a week, 6 to 8 treatments. So I'm making between $600 and $800. That feels good for me, fine for me. If you guys feel like in your area, you want to do $125 for that, $150 for that, whatever you feel like you want to do, you can. I don't know how I could justify $300 to $600 for a 20-minute session for this. It's because usually, like I said, somebody needs a series. This is not like somebody's coming in for fibroblast plasma where you do a one and done kind of, right? So to me, I don't know how I would do that. That being said, also remember, again, because it's a series, that would be cost prohibitive for many people if you were going to charge $600 per session and they needed 6 to 8 sessions, right? So I really, in my practice, really want to help people. I really want to see the benefit of seeing somebody that has a major issue, have it be resolved or majorly resolved. So again, figure out what your price point is, what you want to make for a half-hour session, what you feel comfortable with. But know that most of these people are coming in for a series. Okay, of 6 to 8. And then they probably will, when they come in for their regular facial treatment, whatever, you'll probably be doing some kind of a 10-minute session or so, just for maintenance. Now for maintenance purposes, and when I'm doing it in the context of a facial, what I'm doing is I've automatically upped my prices for my higher end treatments because I want to automatically include it. I don't want it to be like, hey, do you want me to use this because it's going to help with XYZ or it's going to help with product penetration? If I know that this is going to increase product penetration by 24% over the next 12 hours, I know that automatically I want to use it, for example, with my needle-free filler facial or my V-line facial, right? Or I know that it's going to break up the melasma, so I'm going to now use it with my advanced skin brightening facial. I'm increasing those prices automatically. They're already higher end treatments. They're already $200, $250, but I'm increasing my prices about $25 to $30 just automatically. And I'm going to do about 10 minutes of DrPlaton in there. You guys can charge more if you want, up to you. And up to you if you want to just do it as an add-on. But for me, because Rachel and I are really big on getting the maximum results for our clients, so if it can benefit a particular facial treatment, we're automatically going to include it. So then we're going to automatically up our prices and pat it in. That's what we feel more comfortable with. Because ultimately, I feel that I've been doing this a long time. I feel that the customer, when they're there, they still ultimately want your professional opinion of what's going to give them the best results. And if they're coming to you for tightening, glycated skin, if they're, which my clients are, if they're coming to you for hyperpigmentation and melasma, if you know that that's what's going to give them the best result to add DrPlaton or cold plasma to their treatment, then that shouldn't even be, you shouldn't even be at, that just needs to be automatically a part of that treatment, if that makes sense. It's like, for example, my rosacea facials, I know automatically they're going to need LED or some cold laser with erasure. So I don't, in my olden days, I'd be like, oh, it's an add-on for LED. Now I know I need that. I need that to reduce the inflammation, to help with redness, or to help with the acne, breakouts if they have acne rosacea. So I automatically include LED or include cold laser with that. So, and again, everybody's area is a little bit different. So you guys can determine how much more you want to spend, but figure this, you're doing an additional 10 minutes, more or less, with a facial, and you're doing a 20-minute treatment standalone. And so kind of decide how much you want to make for that half-hour treatment. Again, knowing that you're probably going to be doing a series once to twice a week, 6 to 8 sessions. And then let's talk a little bit about marketing. There are a few main ways that we're marketing. Number one is I have my current client base. So automatically, if I have a client, first off, like I said, I automatically are adding it to my existing higher end facials, and I'm just increasing my prices because that's going to give them more benefit. So that's how I'm doing that automatically. For the series, if I have a client that is coming to me and they're dealing with glycated skin, they have melasma, hyperpigmentation, acne, any other issue that I know that would benefit from a standalone treatment or a series, I tell them, I've got this new amazing cold plasma device that can work with blah, blah, blah. I usually show them before and afters, and you guys are welcome to use the before and afters that we have, because that one client that's 82 years old that I showed you that, had initially come to me just for some basic facials. The reason why, even though she spent thousands of dollars at med spas, the reason when she came to me and said, all I want to do is a basic facial every 5 weeks, is because she felt that she spent all that money on previous treatments and it didn't really do anything for her. Okay. So she did not want to give me, I think she was trying to keep me letting me know hey, don't even try to give me any, any higher end treatments, or don't even suggest it. But when I showed her the results that I was getting with a client that had even actually worse skin in terms of glycation, and she saw that, she's like, I want to do that. Okay. So using before and afters is awesome. Now, another way to do it, separate from using our clients, this is what I did with my clients. So if you have a client or two, whether it's somebody with hyperpigmentation, somebody with glycated skin that you think would benefit, and you want to just get some of your own good before and afters and feel comfortable and know how this works, what you can do is one of two things. I did free in a series of 8 for my client with this glycated skin. I just said, hey, this is a newer device for me. I want to see where this goes with glycated skin, because we also know that I was told, if you Google glycated skin, they say nothing will help. So I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to see amazing benefit with her, right? If you're working with somebody with hyperpigmentation, with acne scarring, you're dealing with tightening in general, things like that, melasma, we already know that this works. So with those clients, you could either say, hey, I'm going to offer you a series at half price if you're open to you being my model and me using your before and after pictures. Okay. You're still going to make money, but you're going to start to build your own comfort with the device, and you're going to start to see how fast you can get results, and you're starting to build your own before and afters. Okay. So that's an awesome way to go. That's what I do with my treatments. That's what I've done with most of my treatments when I brought in new treatments. Another thing that you guys could do, and so this is working with existing clients. If you want to bring in, we mentioned in the Facebook group, we have had some people in here who have had a lot of success with promoting new facial treatments on Facebook and Instagram by saying, hey, looking for the first 5 people that respond to this, I'm going to be working with cold plasma, blah, 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 that works for blah, 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 blah. If you're a person dealing with such and such a situation, I'm going to be offering a series of 6, normally this price, but for the first 5 people that respond, this is going to be the price. And people have had a lot of success with that. I know with the needle-free filler facial and with the V-line facial. So you could potentially use it this way as well. So again, and then also for series, you could offer people, again, packages. If you say, hey, a discount for doing a series of 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever, for example, maybe 10% off. What I will say is I have not been discounting, but what I do is something maybe a little bit unique, but this is because I feel that people, especially if something's new, people can be a little bit apprehensive with signing up for something for 6 to 8 treatments, especially if they've been burned before and go, how do I know if I'm going to see any results? And I have to do, 8 treatments, or let's just say they've done 3 or 4 treatments. They're not really seeing a lot of results. And now they feel frustrated because they paid for 8. They don't really want to continue, but they're coming in because they paid for 8, right? So what I do with my clients is they say, hey, this is something that I think is a series is going to be needed. Okay. And I say, I'm going to have you come in once or twice a week, but every time you come in, we're going to take before and after pictures. They will see improvement. Okay. And you let them be in the driver's seat. So what's really awesome about that is then if they keep seeing improvement in the skin, they're going to be like, when do I come in next? When do I come in next? And so they feel like they're in control. And from a financial standpoint, they still probably will get 6 or 8 treatments, but it's not like, they have to pay up front of something that's kind of an unknown. So in that case, even though I'm doing a series, you guys, I'm not discounting their treatments. They're still paying full price each time they come in, but they're in the driver's seat and they keep coming back because they see results. In terms of holding, again, if you're working with somebody with acne or melasma, if they go out in the sun and they do something to trigger something new coming up, you're going to be working on what's there, and what's there is gone. But if something is new coming up, so like when I work with my acne clients, and this is probably for another, we talked about it in our acne class, is that, a lot of times it's an inside out thing, whether it's hormonal or a gut issue, right? So I can work on their face and take care of what's going on up here, but I can't necessarily control with plasma what's going to happen in terms of hormonally or gut health wise that might trigger more acne. Okay. So while the plasma can help control excess sebum, you're going to get so good effect probably for grades 1, 2 in terms of like longer lasting. But what you are taking care of, like if you are taking care of a blemish or a hyperpigmentation spot, that would be permanent unless they're going out in the sun again and they're creating new trauma, right? Or having like new acne that would come up. Now, remember rosacea is a lifelong condition. So this is not something they have to minimize triggers. So you're helping them manage that. So a lot of these conditions are going to need maintenance. Okay. Because these are not conditions that are just one and done. It's not like they just get cured from rosacea. They're really managing triggers. And that's what you're trying to help with, is managing the side effects of rosacea. Oh, the HOP product's great. In fact, when I do my standalone, what I'm usually doing, especially for anti-aging, is cleanse. Make sure I blot dry the face just to make sure it's not damp. Then I do the 10 minutes on one side, starting with the neck, 10 minutes here, maybe an extra 1 minute around each eye if I have to work with, some crepiness or some extra dark circles. Then I use my Cavi, lump it in there, because usually my anti-aging is all about like building that collagen too. So I'll use that. And then I'll use a little bit of the Promoter Repair Cream. And then I'll use my SPF, because no one leaves me unless they're going out at night without my all mineral SPF. My favorite go-to is still the HOP all mineral SPF. That's what I would do. Now, if I was doing a treatment for melasma, you guys, an intensive 20-minute treatment, then I would be using something like I'd cleanse, do the treatment. Then I would choose to do the Vita C Ampule, which by Dr. Esti has the alpha melite, which is a melanin suppressant in it. That, by the way, we do have a gal in the group who had one client on it with just a bad sunspot. And in 45 days, that thing was almost completely gone. So I would probably do the Vita C Ampule from Dr. Esti, put a little bit of the whitening ACE serum that has the glutathione, niacinamide, and vitamins on, and then finish with sunscreen. So I would tweak my products, my treatment products, to what your intention is in the treatment. So whether it's anti-aging, whether it's hyperpigmentation or acne, you're going to then treat accordingly, knowing that product penetration is going to increase by 24% over the next 12 hours. So I usually have the clients not wash till the next morning. I just have them, just all that stuff keeps working. And again, the other benefit of cold plasma is that even if you were doing a session once a week, cold plasma continues to work. Once you're stimulating the cells, it's not just like the results that they just see immediately after. It keeps working. So that's what's really awesome about that. Same thing with like LED. LED, true effects of anti-aging of red LED needs to be done in a series about 10 days apart, and it will be cumulative. But it needs to have that time to kind of repair and heal. So you don't necessarily see all the results right away, but they will see improvement over time too. On. So if your issue is hyperpigmentation, you're going to go the hyperpigmentation route. If it's acne, if it's rosacea, and we have protocols, you guys, for home care suggestions for each skin condition, whether it's rosacea, anti-aging, hyperpigmentation, or acne, we have our recommendations for home care in there. So again, DrPlaton can be used for any of those conditions. So your home care is going to reflect what that client's dealing with. And if you need help because you have a client dealing with multiple things, we can help you with that as well. Feel free to ask. There's just so much to share with you guys. And so we really do hope that, and we're always open to suggestions for additional classes. We want you guys to know that we're really not just about like talking to you about a product, but really trying to help you guys understand the science behind the product, the ingredients, the science behind the devices, because your clients are going to want to know too, right? You want to know, I want to know, our clients want to know. So that's why these classes are a little bit longer, because it's not just like, hey, we're just showing you how to use the DrPlaton. We really want you to understand the science so that you can be smart and educated. And that way the clients trust us more too, if we really understand what we're doing, not just like, oh, someone sold me this and told me it's going to work out. And then again, we have many classes coming up. Next week is going to be the HOP home care. We're going to have a separate Hevatox. I want to teach you guys all about topical Botox. I just did that in my mentoring group. There is a lot of science behind topical Botox, and I want to share that with you. I should actually call it topical botulinum toxin, but you guys know it is Botox. So we're going to do a class on that. We're going to do another class on DrPlaton for those who couldn't be here. And we're going to also do a class on Dr. Esti favorites, which is going to include a lot of the products that we use for rosacea, acne, and hyperpigmentation. So stay tuned. And that's all going to be done before we head to the next trade show. And last but not least, for those of you who are in the Florida area or going to the Palm Beach show, Rachel and I will be there. We're going to do a live demo of the needle-free filler facial. And then in our booth, we will have the Dr.Platon. We will be doing nano with growth factors and things like that. So for whoever asked the question about growth factors, HOP has a Pileo growth factor ampule. And Pileo, by the way, means filler in Korean, in case you're wondering why they sometimes use that word Pileo. So after, if you were going to do a DrPlaton, and then you wanted to do nano or microneedling with the growth factor ampule, that would be amazing, like huge pop results. Okay. So just letting you know that yes, you can start this with any treatment, and it's going to augment any treatment that you're using following. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for being on. And